Hi guys, I know I haven't made a YouTube video for a while, but I just wanted to make some comments on the situation in the West Philippine Sea and the response of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to that situation. I really do believe that President Duterte wants a diplomatic solution. People have to understand that there are many OFWs in China, both documented and undocumented. For all of those scaremongers, for the wokes, for the naysayers who are calling for war with China, what would be the point of doing that? This would put at risk the lives and the livelihoods of many of our kababayan Filipinos in China. If there was a worsening of diplomatic relations, that would make it very hard to speak to the Chinese government and to work with the Chinese government to protect those OFWs. President Duterte is a realist. He understands that the Philippines is not ready for a war. Of course, the Filipino people would fight for their nation, fight for their land, fight for their country. I accept that. I understand that. And I understand there are many Filipinos who would want the option of fighting with China. But people must understand there's been chronic underinvestment in the Philippine military now for decades. And the situation is, the Philippine people have got a lot of situations or difficulties to deal with. Right now, the Philippines is in the middle of a pandemic, and the government has had to spend a lot of money on assistance, on the social amelioration program, and of course paying for the vaccines. The vaccines for COVID are not free, although COVAX has given many vaccines to the Philippines, and of course the Chinese government have also donated some vaccines. The fact is the Philippines are paying for vaccines. So as well as paying for vaccines, as well as paying for the SAP program, as well as paying to support the livelihoods of Filipinos, some wokes would expect the Philippine government to be involved in some kind of war or to spend money on military spending or weapons or whatsoever. This cannot happen. This is a problem that President Duterte inherited. He did not initiate the problem. This has come from previous administrations, the backdoor negotiations with China, the consent for joint oil exploration has been done by previous administrations. You can't expect China to suddenly pull out of all of their exploratory equipment and completely leave the area when previous administrations had agreed that China could be doing some kind of oil exploration on some of those islands. The Philippine Islands, the West Philippine Sea, those Spratly Islands, they are not the property of China. And of course, we would say, hands off China. This does not belong to you. Philippine fishermen should be able to fish in peace. But the situation is, this is something that needs diplomatic pressure. This is something that needs the international community to cooperate. So to those who are saying that President Duterte is scared or he's somehow in cohorts with China or that the Philippines is a republic of China or a province of China is absolute rubbish. President Duterte is a very clever man, a very clever strategist. He has a certain way of dealing with situations, and this is the best or the most appropriate way. I don't understand what people are calling for. I don't understand what the wokes want President Duterte to do. As I said, a war with China is a war that the Philippines would almost certainly lose. No disrespect to the Philippines. I know that the Filipinos are some of the most carefully and cleverly skilled people in the world. I know the hand-to-hand combat, through the national sport of the Philippines, the hand-to-hand combat is very good. Filipinos are very good fighting close up hand. I accept that. But the reality is, this is not a war that would be fought close-handed. This is a war that would involve missiles and weapons. And to be honest, China has a lot more of those than the Philippines. So a war is out of the question. If a war is out of the question, what is the only alternative? The only alternative is a diplomatic solution. Alan Peter Cayetano has said before, previously in public, the Philippines' foreign policy is to be friends with everyone and enemies with no one. It doesn't mean that you succumb to their every whim. What it means is negotiations with China is a better policy. However, don't think that President Duterte is sitting back, because he's not. There have been vessels sent to that area, and President Duterte himself is the chief executive of the country. And he, of course, authorizes all military. And there are movements from Philippine vessels in that area. You know, vessels are being sent to the West Philippine Sea. But it is a process, and it is a long process. There is no easy situation. Previous administrations couldn't deal with it. So why would you expect President Duterte to deal with it? Anyway, thanks guys for watching.